to put my phone on so I can see what's going on too, okay? So just give me a minute so that I can see. We're fixing the computers to make it a little easier for all of us. This is the behind the scene of what's going on, okay? So you all get a chance to see what's going on. It makes it a little bit easier. Were you able to hear Milagros properly? That's important. Let us know if you're having a hard time listening to her when she's speaking. Hi. Hi, look, Liam, Vera, Robin. There we go. Okay, now let me send it to people. Did you share it?
Yes.
We're sharing it to people, so I'm kind of moving around here for a minute.
Yes.
And then we'll be ready, okay? We're sharing it to people, so I'm kind of lower the volume. It's too much for me to hear myself. I forget how strong my accent is until I hear myself. It's too much for me to hear myself. I forget how strong my accent is. I see we're on the same time frame, so it's kind of cool. Okay. I'm almost here. Hi, Sharon. Okay.
You might be able to see the comments there.
Yeah, you can see it.
But now you're not on camera.
No, I'm on camera now.
That's why
I'm
I
gonna bring
thought
it
I was going
closer.
to read the comments.
Yeah.
Oh, she's gonna read the comments.
That's my job.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
No, but I have to see what's
I
going
don't
on.
know.
My mind is a little lost.
Okay.
We are about to start here. Let me move this out of my way. Hi, Juan. Juan, Sharon, how you doing? Oh, Sharon. Hi, Robin. We're kind of excited to have some of you seeing us over here. As you can see, we're all excited. We're ready for the holidays. And you can see Milagros Romero. She have written now, she has published 4 books. 4 books. No, that
Way here.
okay. She has published 4 books, so I'm excited about that.
And you guys have not
One
heard or seen the 4th one. So I'm excited about announcing that 4th book.
Okay, so one of the books she have is That I Am, Yes I Am. And this is very important for the kids. I'm excited. I mean, you all really need to see this book. Look at it. You can color on it and you can erase it. It's a really beautiful book. She's had this for a while. She have Message from Within the Towers. I mean, this is a very, I'm going to say right now, a quick read. So it won't take you that long to read it. But more than anything, she have plenty poems. Her poetry is amazing. Her writing is excellent, but her poetry can take you somewhere else. That's one of the things that I really like about her books, that she doesn't only write, she gives you poetry in the midst of her writing, and that can take you somewhere deeper. Then we have The Muted Cage. We know this came out on November 26th, and it took her a while to do this book, but I'm excited. I read this book before she was able to publish it. So, I mean, I was excited. I mean, I had read this book years ago, but what she made now is completely different. I mean, she has evolved into a different person, and I saw it. When I read this book, I was able to realize her transformation. So I was excited about that. So let's have Milagros introduce her latest book that she have out there.
Well, I am creating a series with the I Am, Yes I Am book. I really like it because it's about affirmation. It's about feeding our minds. And to me, if I had not learned the process of feeding my mind with positive information, I don't know where I would have been now. And so my latest book is I Am, Yes I Am Attributes. And this is a lot more of a coloring book than the first book, because this you're not being gonna be able to erase once you color on it. So it's a real coloring book. But it is filled with affirmations. And affirmations to me bring transformation, and that's what the book is about.
Yeah, when I got a surprise when this book came, you know, we lived together. So when this book came, it was a surprise for me. Lipstick in your teeth. I have just something about lipstick. When this book came out, it was a surprise for me. And, you know, I opened the book. I immediately open everything she brings, and I'm reading it. And the one thing I like about this book is the energy of the book. When you open it and you start reading it and you look at it, somehow the simplicity of it and there's a softness in it. Even the way you're going to see the affirmation, you know, it's almost set up in a way that you will paint, you will color the picture, then you will say the affirmation. And if I was somebody, I will have my kids do it like for a week. Put this picture up, then you read this, and every day you read it until it becomes a reality, until it becomes part of who you are, you know. But the energy of it is what I like. It's not only a book, she was able to bring her energy in this book when she was making this book. So even Tasha, when she sat down and read the book, her energy shifted. She came from work, you know, she's hyped up. By the time she sat down by the fireplace and she was looking at the book, I felt where her energy shifted. So that was really the biggest thing I noticed about this book that I really like. So now we're going to focus on The Muted Cage, because this is really, this is a bestseller book that is going to be turned into a movie. I already threw it out there. It's going to happen. It's going to become a reality. I mean, everything starts slow, and by the time this book is out there, people are going to be transformed, because I was transformed without expecting to be transformed. So to me, that's the biggest thing about this book. When you're not looking for a transformation, when you're not looking for change, and you get it. So this is what this book was able to do for me. So I have some question here for Milagros. You know, I didn't let her tell me anything. I said I'm going to come up with my own question. I won't tell you ahead of time. That way it's not a pre-planned situation. It makes it a little bit easier.
No pressure here. This is scary.
No, she's not scared. You know, she can talk. She can write these books. She can talk. We have nothing to worry about. One other question I have, the quickest one is, why did you choose November 26th as the release date?
Oh my goodness. Well, I chose November 26th. First of all, because of my nephew. It was his birthday. And to me, this is something memorable that I wanted not to ever forget. And sometimes, you know, your head is filled with so many things that you start thinking, when did I do this? Well, it's very easy for me to remember when I released it to the public, because it was on my nephew's birthday. So that's why I released it on that day.
Okay, the next question I have for you is, what made you write this book?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so some people will understand this and some won't, and I'm okay with that. I was drowning. I was dying. I was so lost and so depressed. And to me, the only answer was praying for God to just take me away. Why do I want to live in this mess? And in my spirit, I heard God say, write. And I said, write what? Write about your life. Write your story. And immediately it came to my mind, oh my gosh, okay, so I'm going to write and I'm going to say everything they did to me. And God kind of put the brakes on that, and he said, I want you to write the truth. I want you to write not to make yourself look a certain way. It's not them and you.
I want you to write what is in your heart. Let the Spirit lead you. And so I started the process of writing.
Good. As we heard, how long it took you? How long this process took?
Well, yes, this process has been very long. Actually, when I got that mandate dropped into my spirit, that was in 1993. And I started writing because of my fear of God. It's like if God speaks to me, I want to obey and I want to submit. I really didn't want to have to write this book because I didn't want to have to relive everything that I did go through already. And then I wrote. It was almost like I emptied myself on the pages. And I just wanted to forget it because he didn't say
Publish it. He didn't say publish it. He said, write. And I wrote. And every time I confronted something, I fell into weeks and weeks of depression. So putting it all on the computer took me about 7 years. And then I was scared of it. I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to read it. I didn't want to edit. I just didn't want to deal with the book. I couldn't. So that was in 1993 until 2000. Then in 2003, I went to a convention in Orlando. It was my first time visiting that city. And my cousin said, well, I need to go pick up this guy, but I really don't want to because I don't know him. I'm not going to go. And something in me was like, we got to go. You know, he said he needs a ride. And she was like, yeah, but it's almost 2-hour ride that we have to go to drop him. And I said, you know what? This is something for God, so let's do it. Got into the car, we picked him up. I had never seen this man and have never seen him after that. But she stopped at a gas station to fill up the car. And this man put his hand on my shoulder and he said, I have to ask you a question. Are you a writer? And I said, yes, I actually just came from a poetry convention. And he said, yes, but you're writing something else. You are writing something else. And I said, yeah, I've been writing my story. And he said, well, you know, that story might be about your life, but it's not about you. This is about a lot of people out there. And God wants you to publish that book. You can't keep it in hiding anymore. When he said that, I looked at him because I was like, who is this man? And why is he saying this to me? So I was like, I understand. And I started crying because now God was reminding me the mandate that he gave me. And this man said, every letter that you have typed. And I was like, how do you know I typed it instead of wrote it? He said, just listen. Every letter that you have typed represents tears that you have cried and the suffering that you have lived through. But it's not in vain. This is going to bring healing and transformation to many lives. This book is going to go where you will never even imagine or dream exist. And now, I got that and I was scared because I'm now, okay, so now I have to expose my life and do this. Well, it still took me some more time, so it's been 25 years. That's a long answer, but I wanted to share the process of that.
Well, as you know, Milagros can speak a lot, even though she doesn't have a voice, which is why I'm interviewing her, so she get an opportunity to let us know how the process was.
Okay, because with the writing, I can't see it.
Yeah. Define the moment you knew this book was ready to be released into the world.
It was about in October of this year, actually, because all these years I didn't have a title that spoke to me. I called it My Life Exposed.
No more living behind the mask, nothing but the truth, and
It just didn't feel right. So I went over to visit my niece in Jacksonville. And I said, oh my gosh, I have so much work. I have so much work. And she said, you keep saying that. I said, well, I need to publish this book, but I don't even know what to do. And she said, just sit down. I said, listen, I don't even have a title. I just keep calling it my story. And she said, well, call it my story. I said, that doesn't feel right to me, you know. So then she said, just pick up the book and maybe start reading it and see what happens.
well, I didn't even get to read the book. As soon as I picked up the pages, the name came, The Muted Cage. And I was like, okay, so the book is now ready to be released to the point that it gave me its name.
That was exciting to know since I didn't know this happened. Every time she speaks, I'm able to learn something new. Once the book is released, and it's out there now, and people are going to start reading the book.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Whew. Well, I am very excited about that, but I am also, I don't want to use the word
Scared. It's more uncertain of how people are going to perceive it, because people that see me will never be able to believe the kind of drama I lived. And for some reason, I was always funny. I was always pleasant. I was always helpful to other people. I was very spiritual. And so the comparison of what I was living within the walls of my home and the life that I presented outside is like day and night. So it's scary because I'm walking out like in a big stadium and I am completely undressed. That's what it feels like, because you are receiving my naked soul. So that, and then, there are people that prefer for certain things to stay under the carpet, under the bed, in the closet, and that is okay for them. But this is not something that I can keep or desire to keep from the people. Mostly because my focus is the people that are going to benefit from it. Some people will be hurt. And I really had to think very hard. I have my siblings, I have my family that I love and I respect and I honor. But I realize I'm 55 years old now, about to be 56 in January. And it's about time that I live my life, and that I live my life not pretending and not hiding and not scared. I don't want to be scared anymore. So I prefer to be uncertain. I prefer to be rejected by people who are not comfortable with my truth. But I'm not living a lie anymore.
Good. How has your relationship with God developed during the process of writing this book?
God is my everything. It's like my family is number one for me. Your kids, they are everything to me. Everything to me. It's like I live with these kids. They're like my kids. but there is nothing that comes between God and I. There was a time that I would disobey God to please my family, to please my mom, to please people. And looking back, really the only one that has been for me, right or wrong, good or bad, has been God. And so I realized, okay, so my true relationship, my nucleus has to be God. It cannot be my family. It cannot be myself. It cannot be the needs that I may have or the fears that I may have. Fear of being rejected, need to be loved. I am loved by God, and I am not loved by anyone else. That is more than enough for me.
Where's the book? Oh. Okay, I'm going to read, before we continue here, I'm going to read one of my favorite poems, because that's what you're going to see wherever she writes a segment in the book. She have a poem for it, and this is the poem that is I Am. I first saw her in my thought. She was 4 years old. The girl was in a dark room, encircled by fear and loneliness. Her cry was heartbreaking. Her expression was lost. Lost between sadness and tears. The only brightness present was her pretty white ruffled dress. Her hands were reaching out, seeking protection and warmth. She pleaded as though wanting to be picked up. I then saw her again in my dreams. The girl was now older. This time, no tears, no cry. She said nothing. There were no spoken words, only silence. Her big dark brown eyes only stare at me. She sat by the corner of my bed, contemplating my unconsciousness as I slept, as though wanting to touch me. Later, I saw her through the corner of my eye, hiding every time I turned. She was older than before and quite shy, hiding behind every wall. I felt no fear because it all had a familiar feeling to me. Of some part of my life, I couldn't really see her. Every time, I only got a glimpse of her. But I could sense her as though having something to say. But her voice was trapped by fear. I saw her again. She was now a woman, all grown, slender, with an elegant confidence and strength. Her skin was like soft chocolate, unstained. She was perfect. But this time I was scared, because I realized she was entirely naked. She was truth and was ready to reveal herself to me. Today, it was face to face. Her eyes locked with mine. They read brave. We didn't move. We didn't talk. We were paralyzed. She stared without a blink, as though wanting to show me. When I first saw her, her sadness concerned me. When I saw her again, her silence puzzled me. When I saw her later, her hiding confused me. When I saw her face to face, her stare awoke me. All of a sudden, reality struck me. It was I, she was me, my inner being, bringing me face to face with the truth, the revelation of what was buried and hidden away. It was hidden so deep, I had forgotten part of me. But through her eyes, I remembered. I remember me. Now I cried because I found a stronger part of me. I wish I could cry for joy, but they were painful memories. But I cry with relief because now I knew who I am and why. I am yesterday, my today, and tomorrow. What does it feel to have somebody read, the poetry and part of your book for you?
It feels awesome. That's a poem that I actually wrote while I was in school in Central High. I was 17 years old, 12th grade, and I was sitting alone, and all of a sudden, it just flew out of me. It began flowing out of me, and I was writing. Something used to happen to me. I used to have these horrible headaches, and the minute I started writing, it was like a release. So it's awesome that people are going to not just get part of my story, but they're gonna get pieces of my soul.
Good. I mean, that's excellent. As you can see, we're moving along here. I'm about to ask her about what audience is she trying to reach with this book, because when I read it, I was wondering, does she want men to reach this, to read the book? Is it only for women? And for some reason, she had to put, it's rated. So you have to be 18 years old to get the book. So let's see what's the purpose of that. What's going on with the book that you have to be 18?
Well, it's pretty intense. And although I don't go fully raw with details, it's very straightforward, very bold. There are certain things that are broken down, certain events that happened that may be shocking to some people. And I'm really not looking to make people sad or even more broken. I want this to be a tool of healing. And so it is written by a woman, but it is written for everyone. Someone told me that this is a book for women. And I said, it is for women and it is for men. Number one, because, like me, a broken woman finds a man, and I have, not boasting,
but I have a lot of great qualities, right? And so I will present myself to this man, and he will say, oh my gosh, she's this, she's that, da, 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 da. And we get together, we have a relationship, we get married, and then the switch is flipped, something happened, something triggered something, and this man is now standing in front of a woman that he doesn't know, because this was never present in their relationship. But let's flip it. How many times have you been with a man that is a gentleman, very lovely, very smart, very caring, very loving, and something triggers, and all of a sudden you're wondering, how did I end up in this relationship? Who is this man? How many times have you said to someone, who are you? I don't even know you anymore. You have changed. No, we haven't changed. We just have these things within us. And if we do not seek healing,
at some point it's going to manifest.
And so I think that men who haven't had experienced abuse, they can get a lot out of this book in understanding how, and this is not everybody, because we don't all experience abuse and experiences in the same way. But you can learn a whole lot about dealing with a person that is deep into depression, that is dealing with flashbacks, insomnia, nightmares, bottled anger, and all of a sudden you don't even understand why this person is so angry. And it's the same thing with a woman. Many men have been abused, and I think that a lot of women are easier to express that they have been abused, but a lot of men prefer to keep it because of the stigma. And a lot of people don't want to believe, well, how could you be abused? You're a boy, you're a man. Yeah, everybody is exposed to abuse at one point or another. So the book is really for men and women. I never even let my nieces or nephews read what I was writing because I would tell them, I'm sorry, but you're not old enough. And I don't think that there is anything too graphic, because at the same time I want to be very careful that the message is not about arousing people sexually, because some people get aroused by abuse. It's really about telling you a story that could be happening to many men and many women, many children, and at the same time opening the minds to a deeper understanding of what we go through.
Okay, we know that, or whoever have read this book will know that you deal with depression off and on.
Yes.
All your life. So how are you doing with depression right now that you have released this book, that you're about to write more books, that it seems to me, I live with her, your brain is always somewhere else running and trying to get ahead before you even finish with this moment, you're ready for the next one. So
I try to live in the moment. It's just that my spirit is always writing. My spirit is always guiding. The spirit lives in the future. It doesn't just live in the now. And when you pull towards the spirit is just going to lead you to places, And I think just before releasing the book,
like maybe November 25th, I was like depressed because I was scared. I was like, oh my gosh, it is out there. Now people are going to get it. And I was really concerned about my family. Like I said, I don't want to hurt anyone. But at the same time, it was like, you know what? I just have to live. I really need to live.
And writing is my life. That is really what runs through my veins. Writing. I used to write plays for the church. I used to write poetry. I actually, even in high school, when a boyfriend and girlfriend were fighting and they would come to me, I would write a letter or a poem for the boy to
present to the girl. So I was always writing, and writing stories. So, and the thing is that it doesn't matter when I get depressed, if I write, I release. And that is one of the tools that I use to release, because it's almost like you transfer the intensity of that depression. It doesn't go away. Okay, don't get me wrong, it doesn't go away, but you release so much of that tension. You're not holding that thing in. So, right now, I don't feel depressed. I don't feel depression. I don't feel, compared to what I was living years ago, where I couldn't think and I couldn't function, and all I was living in this cage. I was imprisoned, and the worst thing is, like, you could see the cover of the book, the cage is open. Nobody was holding me in there except my own mind. So the healing is not just for the people, but also for myself.
As you can see, the cage is open. This this painting right here that you can see was made by Didi Drish, which is Norma Drish. Norma Carrion Drish, and Milagros was able to give an idea and tell exactly what she needed, and she was able to really take her time and get. If you really look at this picture, you gotta pay attention because you'll see someone is inside. There's many things to this picture. You just have to really pay attention to it, because when I look at it, I was so overwhelmed by emotion because I had read the book and she was able to capture the essence of what the book was about. So that was very important for Milagros, to really have someone understand what she wanted and then be able to come up with the right concept. Even the colors matter. Everything, even the back of the book, as you can see, there's a little cage. And here's a picture of her, and then she goes by Milagros Lotus B-U-T. That is something that she does too, because she's always trying to empower people out there. It's one of the things that she's always been doing, trying to make someone life better. In the middle of all this depression, writing, the life that she lived. I'm her sister and I live with her. And I will tell you that I didn't even know. I just read a book that I was I was discovering things, because even though I was in the midst of this world, I was very protected and sheltered. So that's how much she can be normal when she have to be, so that others have the ability to have a normal life like I did versus her life. What has been the biggest obstacles during the making of this book?
One of the biggest obstacles, definitely family. But every family has secrets. Lots of people choose not to expose them. And I'm not sure, even now, I am not sure how people are going to accept my story. There was actually something that happened. I was speaking at one event that was held for the office of the governor that had to do with abuse. And
people that were part of my past showed up, and I think they had some negative intentions, because some lady said that I was lying about my life, or how dare you speak of these things? How could you do this to your parents? I'm not doing it to my parents. I couldn't love my parents more than I love my parents. I couldn't love the people that hurt me more than I do.
But again, my life is not just about me. And I realized that a long time ago. A lot of people stopped me after I spoke about the abuse. Older people in their 80s and 70s, three different ladies, 3 different occasions. And one of them said, "Thank you for being so brave, because I went through a lot of the same stuff, but I could never speak of it because I've always been scared of people knowing what I went through. Thank you for giving me a voice."
And to me, that was like, I don't want to say a shock, but because I have very present that I have this voice issue. So when people say, "Thank you for giving me a voice," in my mind, the first thing that comes is like, I don't have a voice. I don't have much of a voice. So when God will use me in such a way that I don't have a natural or regular voice, what people might consider regular, and for them to say, "Thank you for giving me a voice," that means
Something to me. It means more than my fear of my family rejecting me or someone coming up and calling me a liar. I'm okay with it. I've gotten to the point that, you know what? My experience is my life. I cannot go and tell you that your life is a lie or that your life was different because you experienced your life your way. I know what I lived. I know how tormented my life was. And only God knows it all. Because even in the book, you guys get bits and pieces of what I went through. But the magnitude of it is still with me. And some people will never know. Because I didn't mention about the relationships that I had. But one thing I'll tell you, most of the relationships I had started with a rape. Because what I knew as a relationship was rape. Love was rape to me. It wasn't, and I didn't call it rape. It was, this is how this person loves me. This is how this person shows me that they love me. That's what I thought. But that was a natural space for me because that is how I grew up. So there is a lot that I didn't share there because actually I'm writing 2 other books. One about the depression, which is going to be called The Muted Cage, Living with Depression. And then The Muted Cage, Parenthesis, which is about the relationships in my life.
If your parents were still alive, what would you like to say to them?
Well, to me, my parents are alive. I keep them alive in me. And I would tell them, don't worry. I know for sure that my mom would have supported me in my book because we had conversations about what I endured. And my mom, even though my mom was a very proud woman, she was very strong, very strong. And when she read some stuff that I wrote, she was like, right, that's what you do, that's what you've always done, right. So I know she would not have been an obstacle. Maybe she would not have been like wanting to expose herself out there, but she would not have stopped me from writing. So that is one of the things that I carry with me, that I had conversations with my mom about what happened, and she never rejected me, never refused me. So, and to my dad, yes, my dad, I would tell him that I love him and that I know that there were times he was not the best, him, but I knew that he loved me anyway. That's what I would tell him.
Now that everything is out, you have a book out, everything is exposed, are you going to be able to, let some of this go and move on? Are you going to be able to move on from this stage, this suffering, this journey? When I read your book, a lot of it for me was forgiveness.
Yes.
How do you feel? Are you really able to forgive all these people? To really forgive everything that happened to you and move on? I mean...
You have to. You have to forgive. And this is what, and I know that there are some people in the world that completely understand this, okay? You cannot find happiness if you have unforgiveness in your heart. You cannot. And I cannot expect God to forgive me if I cannot forgive. Yes, I was wronged, But another thing that I want people to not get stuck on the pain and the suffering and the experiences. My hope is that people will take away that there is life after abuse. That, yes, these people exist, these people are out there, but they're like us.
How many wrong things have we done? You know, we have done things that are not good, and we expect forgiveness. So the same way, and when I go to places and I share with people that I know are going through abuse, I tell them, you know, something happened to my dad, and something happened to my mom. My mom was not born aggressive and a physical abuser. My dad did not. He was not born a child molester. That is not how he was born. Something happened to these people. And many times it's easy to point the finger and judge instead of sitting back and understanding, okay, so something happened. And this doesn't mean that you excuse the behavior, that you condone or accept the behavior. No, it's wrong. But like the word says, God hates sin, but he loves the sinner. Now, if I profess and confess and speak that I want to live in the image of God, and God forgives me, how do I not forgive? And to me, love is greater than pain, greater than abuse, greater than hurt. And I honestly love my parents.
Now you heard it from her mouth. She made me get out of my, I had a flow in my brain and she took me out of it. I was paying too much attention to what she was saying. One of the things that I got from the book, specifically for me, because as we all know, Milagros Romero is my sister. We grew up in the same household. One of the things that I really got was because of her situation and what she was experiencing, at the time, if we were, let's say we both were going through the same thing, I could see where her fear would be 10 times worse than mine because of things that had happened in her life that I didn't experience, that I was able to experience now through the book. But, sometimes when we say a story, it could be different, but then I realized why it was different. Her experience at that time versus mine, it's completely, I was terrified reading this book and I was going through some of these things. So I was able to understand how same household, different backgrounds, situation affects us so different. So to me, that was something that I was really able to understand her more as my sister. Sometimes I say, wow, this girl exaggerates stuff. Well, she didn't. She was going through something that was 10 times worse than me. The other thing that I got from this book that I think many people will get is I never experienced abuse. I experienced a different kind of abuse from my mom. It's different. But I didn't experience sexual abuse. So, or I've never been in a situation where I've been treated badly by men. You know what I mean? So I had never been able to understand why people are in that situation and don't move on. When I read this book, and I have shut my mouth forever. From being, I would never be able to be who I was before this book, because now I am exposed to a truth that I was never part of, or didn't even want to be part of, but now I am. Without experiencing this book was able to take me there so that I can understand now more why. I'm not going to question, I'm not about to judge people. I mean, I don't even know what I was thinking. But I wasn't, because I didn't know anything until I read the book, and then I was able to understand and be aware of what other people are going through and we don't know. So to me, the biggest thing about this book is that it teaches people who have never experienced in their mind this situation, and we're always judging or wondering why somebody just don't leave. Well, it's not that easy, you know. So it really was able to teach me so many things that I am beyond blown away with the knowledge that I got. I was somebody before the book, but after this book, I am a crier. I mean, I feel like I had a heart attack, and I'm always crying. I mean, over the little things. I mean, I can't even be reading. I mean, it's just a tough moment, because I used to be this way, and now I have become this other person that is constantly now aware of things rather than being in this. I tend to be like a gullible person in my own bubble of everything is great in the world, and now I know different. What is the biggest thing that you want people to get? When I read this book, tell me one thing I should get from it. I don't want 100. I want the
Forgive
main
yourself.
focus.
Forgive yourself. It's not your fault. And it's okay.
So now we heard it. The main thing is forgiveness. To forgive yourself, because to forgive someone, you gotta forgive yourself first.
Yes.
You know, that's one of the things I learned. I mean, people really need to read this book, not to find out about anybody's life, but to find out about your own life. Because if you're going through anything, for some reason, you might not find her in the book, because she made a point to make herself invisible at times, where you can put yourself in. I'm reading this book and I'm thinking it's me at times. You know, could be a depression moment, could be something that she's going through. And I feel like it's me writing this book, feeling these things. So that's how she was able to really convey so much during this book that I was so impressed. And I mean, change and transform. You know, the other thing I want to know is, you got nieces and nephews and the whole world. That is going to be, I mean, let's say that immediate family, you know, that's going to be in your life. And they'll be able to, when they read this book, they might see you different. How do you feel about that? Because you didn't want them to really read this book, but now they're older.
Yeah, I didn't want them to be exposed to my pain, because, like I said, I really don't want people to get stuck on the painful parts, because I'm not suffering anymore. That pain is done. I allow the Holy Spirit to teach me how to use that pain to grow. So, I mean, I'm not hurting over that side. They don't want them to get attached to that pain. I'm glad that I have evolved so that when people read the book and they see me, it's like, wait a minute. Okay, so if this person can get from there to here, then there is hope.
That was the quickest answer you did.
Oh, I can give you more, but you said keep it short.
I wasn't ready.
Yes, because I really didn't want to expose my nephews and nieces before they had more understanding. And I think I also want it for me to be able to be a little more evolved, rather than still being in that depression and still being in that place of such darkness.
And maybe my nephews and nieces get scared of me, and they start to treat me a certain way because they couldn't see my strength. I didn't know my strength. So I couldn't reveal it to them. So none of us were ready for that.
Okay. There's always a time and place, and this is the time and place.
Yes.
When the Muted Cage, the movie comes out, who would you want to play you?
Oh my goodness.
Just let's hear it.
No, not Tasha.
You're too dramatic. Dramatic. No.
As you can hear, Tasha just screamed her niece.
Well, I think it has to be one of my favorites, Angela Bassett.
You
As
would
a
like
grown-up.
Angela Bassett?
Angela Bassett to play me going through my struggles when I was fighting to live, because there is something about her. There is a certain strength about her that I really, really love. I actually have her in one of my vision boards. Her and Oprah Winfrey.
Wow. What do you want Oprah Winfrey to be the one who make this as a movie? Or is it open for the whole world?
It's open for whoever feels it.
Right? Because I don't want to cage my story no more.
As you heard it, she doesn't want to cage it anymore. You know. The other thing, when this become a movie, who's gonna play me?
Oh my goodness. Who do you want people to see you as?
I'm unplayable.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody can play me.
Well, then you can get yourself.
No, I'm just kidding. As you can see, we spend over an hour here talking about the
I have
Muted Cage.
one more thing, okay? And this is because I want people to understand that yes, I forgave my dad, and I love my dad, and I wrote a poem for my mom. I wrote a poem for my biological father, and I wrote a poem for my dad. And guys, you have to understand that this man raised me from the time I was 5 months old. He was the only daddy I knew, so he will forever be my dad.
And this says, I'll always love you, Dad.
Dear Dad, I believe that in the depth of every human lives the Spirit of God, who is eternal. Your body perished, but your spirit lives on. This is why I know that this message will get to you. Although I was severely wounded, I always loved you. I remember the bad. I most certainly remember the good. Without hesitation, you chose to be my dad. When it mattered the most, you showed up on my behalf. In the good, I found a dad that loved me.
No matter what happened between you and me, I never wished you harm. When cancer showed up, I was utterly devastated for you. The years of suffering that followed were difficult. I felt guilt, like it was punishment for what you did to me. I prayed and desired to see you well. Still, the plan was not in my hands. That night, the night before your transition, was the purest and most precious night, and I had the honor to spend it with you. I held your hand and offered you forgiveness, and with a solid squeeze, you accepted it. Dad, I really meant every word from the depth of my heart. Dad, I'll see you again, this time righteous and whole, the man I knew you were meant to be, the man
I saw in you, and to this day allows me to say, Dad, I'll always love you.
I think that poem was missing somewhere in there, so she finally was able to do that poem. That's one of the things you will get, that poetry that you heard two of the poems from the book, and one of them was made when she was 17 years old. And this, when did you make this? This was the latest one?
Yeah, this was maybe 2 months ago.
2 months ago, so she's evolved, you know, where she's being able to do more and more of these poems and things that she's supposed to do. So, coming up, what are all the projects you have coming up?
Oh, I think I have 4 more books. Let me go here so I don't miss anything. Well, I mentioned living with depression. I also mentioned, parenthesis. And, let me see. This one doesn't have it. Yours does. Living with depression, parenthesis.
Death exchange.
Death exchange, that was something. And changes.
So she got 4 more books coming, but apart from these books, what are you planning of traveling and going to the Virgin Islands anytime soon?
I am planning on going to the Virgin Islands, not exactly
A date yet. But I'm hoping that before I get there, I can have some conferences and maybe a book signing settled and scheduled so that when I get there I'm working, because I don't think I'm gonna be there for a long time. I'm still dealing with some health issues, but I want to go there and work. I really love giving back to the people where I grew up, especially the place where
it was so difficult for me. I always want to make it a little easier for someone who's there.
Good. As you can see, she's managed to talk through the whole thing, even though she has a problem with her voice, which has been kind of nice. I have a question for her, because this is something, years back, her voice was, this is a beautiful voice compared to what her voice was.
Yes.
And how do you feel now? This is the voice that you had, that you can actually communicate, versus who you were before. Because when we went to the doctor, I was able to hear even how you sounded. I was, traumatized, because it's been so long that you don't sound like that to me anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, this started right after my dad died.
no, my biological father died in 2006. That was in May. And by November, I had completely lost my voice. Went to different doctors, went through different studies, research, guinea pigged, Botox injections, and I was not having results. They couldn't find any reason for why I lost my voice.
And it was a pain in the neck for a while at the beginning, because people thought that because I was not being able to speak, that I couldn't hear. So I go to places and they would try to write. And I'm like, don't write. I can hear you. But they didn't know what I was saying, because it was more like, because I was angry. Because now I'm like, how do you think? Okay, because I cannot talk. I cannot hear. So I'm like, now they're thinking I'm deaf and dumb. What's up with this, you know? And it took me about 6 months before I was comfortable to the point that I could play with it. And then it took about a year before I got some voice back. And the voice that I got at the time was almost like someone was strangling me. So I couldn't breathe and talk at the same time. I had to relearn how to speak. But people kept telling me, just write, don't talk, just write. I'm like, no, no. What I do is talk. That's my life. I talk and I sing. And I'm not going to stop. Because, like I tell my sister, it's like when I did look, it's going to be, is it 13 years or 12 years? 12 years, because 2006. I do not ever, in my brain, when I'm having this conversation, like if I have to tell somebody something, I have the conversation and I hear myself. And I never hear a broken voice. So even after 12 years, when I'm really intense about a conversation in my head, and I open my mouth, and this thing comes out, I'm like, how did that even happen? Because in my brain, my voice has never, ever been broken. And that's why I know that my voice is connected to my spirit. Because there is no brokenness in the spirit. Yes, we might be broken in our heart, in our minds, even our soul, but our spirit is intact.
Well, after I read this book, I'm in here at times. I would like to take a moment to personally apologize because when you told me what you were going through, I wasn't able to react the way that maybe you needed me to react, because I'm one of those people that I really don't like the negative in my world. I can really remove it and kind of kick it away and don't even believe it exists. I'm to that point in my own little circle of world that I have created where I don't expose myself to too much out there, you know. But because I read her book years ago and I read it, but it was nothing like now due to the fact that I am going through a transformation. I've been broken to the point of no return. So I'm
There is always a return. There is always a return.
Well, no, I would never return to who I was before,
Yes.
ever.
Yes.
I has been transformed. Like I keep putting on Facebook, I needed to be broken to be able to see who you are as a person. You know, to be different, because I am so stubborn in my brain. So it have allowed me to understand even how maybe you have felt where you needed me to be there more, and I wasn't able to give you what you wanted because you were too busy taking care of me like you have always done. So thank you for always being there for me, always protecting me to the point that I have able to have this life that I am, apart from now that I am not able to walk and do things that I want to do, men-wise or anything. My life has really been great because of people like you who have really protected me and never allow anything to really change. I mean, my environment and my circumstances for me to be able to live this life. But I would like to apologize because there's no excuse. I should have been there. I should have known better. I just didn't know how to do it. I wasn't ready. It wasn't about you. It was about me. I wasn't ready. So I knew it was going to happen. Totally, it's like, I have a damn heart attack. Ryan, help me. It's this book that has made me into this soft woman that cries every minute. But...
And it's okay, because the way I see it, I needed to walk this journey by myself because my rescue had to be God. And it was hard when you open yourself finally after being so terrified to say, listen, this happened to me, and almost feel like it was dismissed, like it was no big deal, you know, and I'm still dealing with the whole pain of it, and the situation and not knowing how to let it go. So I had to take it to God, so it's okay. It's okay. I think we all had to carry our own journey the best way we could. And at that time you needed to protect it yourself. And I love you.
Well, as we know, she always saying it's okay, but it's not. That's one of the things, to me, that's one of the things that's about her that I wish she would change a little bit. She's always about someone else, but no, it wasn't okay.
Well, the thing is that it's okay because we can't go back and change it. You know what I mean? It didn't diminish the love I feel for you. It didn't take away from you always being my baby.
So as you can see, it's time to finish this journey. Guess I need a break again. It became about me. But this is the muted cage, and as we can see, it's Milagros Romero. Everybody, please remember that name, Milagros Romero.
Yes, please don't call me Millie. That is not me. My name is Milagros. If you don't remember Milagros, translated to English, it means miracles. Like I said, I don't want to hide anymore. I don't want to be somebody different. I want to be who God made me with the name that He gave me. Milagros. Thank you very much.
So as you heard it from her mouth, she would like to be called Milagros Romero. And Garcia, which is my husband, had a difficult time with this, pronouncing the name. Now every time he says her name, he say, "Here I am, Milagros."
Yes.
I'm getting it down. So he's really trying to do this, which he was having a difficult time. But I mean, even when he say it now, he's making it a point to let her know, I'm getting it. I know you want to be called this name. I've gotten used to now saying Milagros. So now it's gotten easier for me. But I was used to always calling her something else. So thank you very much for exposing yourself, for allowing us to get into your world. But more than anything, we're going to let you close this because this is about you, not about anybody else, because God has used you, but He can only use if you allow Him to do it. And you have allowed Him to use you to expose many things that we weren't ready to see, but it's time to see and face. Last words?
Oh, thank you very much. I hope you get the book. And if you don't think it's for you,
Get it for somebody else that needs it. We all can use a little hope. And believe me, you might see or think that this is about tragedy. This is about victory. This is about living through abuse, surviving, but more than surviving, it is about overcoming and about having a relationship with God that is so strong that even though fear is always present, love overcomes. That's what that is.
So thank you very much, and thank you to every one of you for seeing us. Please share so that other people can get an opportunity to see this. Have a good one, and we love you all.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Your battery is running low. There, we did it.
It was nice. It was really nice.
We will let go.